Well,
Freak
day
show.
15, we're going to go ahead and start. We'll do a recap towards the end, starting with the kill board. Although it is a very unpleasant phrase, this is a phrase we use, right? The number of killed and injured in the conflict. Right now, Iran stands at 1,450. That is a slowing. We are not getting the updates, probably because, the regime doesn't want those updates out there, but the International Committee of the Red Crescent, which is the Islamic version of the Red Cross, is reporting these casualties. And actually, they're kept reporting them a little less than the government health ministry. But again, in the Islamic world, we know those numbers are going to be significant, but we also know they can be confirmed because you have to be buried quickly within 24 hours. And that's visible, that's observable. You can actually see cemeteries and get an accurate count of who's dying within that area. The Red Cross is stating that there are 18,000 casualties all across Iran. That could also include military. The U.S. Department of Defense insists that they've killed 6,000 soldiers. But again, we assess every time we talk. They're just counting the system and maximizing the number of people in it. So that's not necessarily accurate. Body counts are always horribly inaccurate. United States, the casualty count is now up to 14. We've confirmed all 6 crew members were lost when the KC-135 went down. It was flying with double crew, 4 pilots, 2 boom operators, so that they could stay in the air constantly, refueling off of each other. 166 U.S. soldiers wounded. Israel, they're counting, that count has been revised by the Mogen David, which is the Israeli version of the International Committee of the Red Star of the Mogen David. That they are down to 12 civilians killed in combat from Iran sending ballistic missiles to Israel. Soldiers are not included in this count who are killed in Lebanon. Right now, other personnel is at 21. We are waiting for that to rise. There have been some tanker attacks. We haven't seen the casualties off of it. You have the count for Lebanon today?
Yeah, no, it's not been updated on Al Jazeera, but I think what's safe to say is that we're seeing the same fighting pattern by and large that we've seen this last week.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be around about 100 each day.
Each
perhaps.
day, yeah.
Yeah. I've not seen anything to suggest that it would go down.
Well, as you guys know, the Lebanon-Israel war is a separate war from the Israeli-U.S.-Iran war. Completely done on their schedule without any coordination. Boom, things are going on. Systems lost. That's it for the casualties. Systems lost. We did confirm that KC-135 was lost, crashed in the desert. There's a photograph, an AI-generated photograph of it, like lying on its belly, partially destroyed. That's fake, all right? There's 2 vertical stabilizers on the back of that thing. It's ridiculous what kind of trash people put out into the internet. However, we've updated this. There was a report that there have been 5 KC-135s damaged in the Prince Sultan Air Base outside of Riyadh from the debris of a drone impact that may have actually hit the runway and damaged 5 of the aircraft. Most have been returned back to flying condition, but this was a couple of days ago. The word leaked out. The Pentagon's keeping a lid on most things. And of course, the KC-135, which struck during in-flight refueling, the other KC-135 was severely damaged, lost half of its vertical stabilizer, but landed in Tel Aviv. So 6 KC-135s damaged, 1 lost in the last 48 hours. That is going to significantly hamper the in-flight refueling capacity. Fuel and logistics is how you fight a war. Guns are the last part, So if you can't get fuel there, you can't be available for B-1 bombers or B-52s or B-2 bombers. they going to have to divert or they're going to have to land as opposed to staying up in the air. Okay, significant activities. Yes, Jacob.
One more system that has been lost is at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad.
Baghdad. Yeah, saw that.
CRAM.
Yet
Right?
another CRAM Gatling gun, anti-rocket Gatling gun, has been damaged. The other one was the one at Camp Victory. Now, for those of you who don't, I wish I'd remembered this. I would have bought my map of Baghdad out. I lived in the Republican Palace in the Green Zone for almost a year. And CRAM was new when I was leaving, right? We would just take every evening like clockwork, the 8:00 mortars would begin, right? And you just like, well, 8:00, time for the mortars.
Mm-hmm.
And the mortars would come in, boom, 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 and that would be it. Unless they were mad, then they would send in real rockets later.
Yeah.
8:00 mortars were a thing. And then CRAM came, which is a Gatling gun that can actually track and shoot mortar and rocket rounds down, blow them up. And a horrible waste of ammunition. I mean, it puts up thousands of bullets per round. So constantly. So the American embassies has been damaged. The Camp Victory one at the airport was destroyed. So these systems are expensive. I think there's something like $30-40 million each. They're going to have to fly in a new one. What's that?
Yeah. And it's going to leave the embassy with less protection, obviously.
Fucking guys with shotguns now. So that's going to be unhealthy. Okay, moving on. The significant activities of the day. The United States has struck Kaarsbo Island. This is Kaarsbo Island. Kharg. You will also see it pronounced Khark. Kaarsbo Island. The entire life that I've spent in the Arabian Persian Gulf, we've called it Kaarsbo Island. I have literally seen this island get bombed no less than 5 times. Just planes flying by us, right? Iraqi Mirage F-1 EQ-5s, loaded down with bombs, taking off from Ashuaiba Air Base in southern Iraq, just flying big squadrons of them, flying in there with a couple of Mirages or what else did they have? The MiG-23 combat air patrol and flight escorts, all of those flying through and then bombing the hell out of Kaarsbo Island. And unlike us, they were out to hit this part. This is the main oil terminal. And there are actual pipelines that go through here. This over here, there's storage facilities. This is the village of Kark over here. That's 8,000 people who support all of this, right? This is Iran's main oil transshipment terminal. Oil does not get pumped here. Oil comes in from the mainland through the pipelines, comes underground. There are 2 underground pipelines. There's actually an underground pipeline over here, and there's an actual little wildlife area and a thin island up there. But this port can handle very large crude carriers. The biggest super tankers can dock in here. When I was in here in the 1980s, the Iraqis' job, it was still operating. They'd bomb it and they'd fix it up in a matter of a couple of days. Then they would come in and, crude ships would run in really fast, or they were using these transshipment ships, very small tankers like these, or like this, that would come in and then go halfway down the Gulf, meet a super tanker and fill it up, sort of like shuttling all of this. And the Iraqis hated this island. They bombed it incessantly, right? If somebody said an Iraqi fighter jets were breaking water over the Al-Faw Peninsula, I would say, because the routine went for 10 years, I would say, if it's 2 of them, it's Mirage F-1s getting ready to fire Exocet missiles at the ships on Kaarsbo Island. That's a full-time job, right? I could set my watch to it in the morning. If it was 4 of them and it had a MiG-23 fighter combat air patrol, then I would say, Karg Island's getting bombed again. So, and they would come right into the anti-aircraft, the missiles, and they would drop bombs right on top of them. I believe I've only seen one Iraqi Mirage F-1 get shot down. I know some MiG-23, a MiG-23 was downed out here one time. And you knew stuff was coming because aircraft from Iran would start taking off. Esfahan F-4s, Shiraz MiG, F-14s would start running combat air patrols over. It was a fun and exciting time, which is the depth, I get all these people out there, the right-wing crazies, who are like, you don't have any real experience. You don't know anything about this. You're not an expert. Dude, this is called lived experience. Okay? I can look at the fires coming off the island. I can see the aircraft zooming by us. In fact, I had, because of
You're
the
not
nature
part of the video game crowd, though.
Yeah, the video game crowd knows everything, bro. I'm sorry. My 40 years of experience does not equate to their thousands of hours of Call of Duty or World of Warships. Okay, which is a game I haven't even seen yet. I've only seen the advertisements.
We obliterate them.
We're doing something wrong if we're not hip. Us oldsters aren't hip with the youngins about the games that they're playing. So anyway, Karg Island has been struck by the United States. And this is a actual image of Karg Island at a 3/4 view. I'm going to show you some of the defenses that are on there. This was done by a researcher who put them on from MapQuest. And there's some really good, some really good imagery around that. Okay, sorry guys, I'm a bit of a mess here.
And there was a question about tankers. It's important for our viewers to understand that the Iranian tankers are still shipping oil out to China mainly, and it's 90% of Iranian oil going through Karg Island. And it's still being shipped out to China to this day.
People ask, they go, hey, are there other places in Iran, if you blow this up, or there's no way to get oil to the tankers? No, there are 5 other transshipment points, okay? Karg just happens to be the biggest because it's way in the north. It's closer to a lot of oil fields, even though right here, right around the island, underneath it, in the ocean and in the land, there is the Darius oil field, right? This used to be a very old joke, right? We used to say, the Iranians are telling the Iraqis, I dare you to take our oil. So that's how we knew it was the Darius oil field. So we have nothing to do on these ships but make jokes, guys. So this is Karg Island facility, right? And on Karg Island facility, there are military sites for the U.S. to bomb, because this thing has been militarized since the very day that Shell Oil Company occupied this island, built out these oil facilities. This is the 1960s, and under the Shah of Iran, with British assistance, they put anti-aircraft facilities on there, anti-aircraft guns, and into the 1970s, they started moving Hawk surface-to-air missile batteries up here. The Shah of Iran was the one who really militarized this island, right? You got to protect a national asset. When the Islamic Revolution came, of course, the Iran-Iraq War started within a year, I believe, and then they really upgraded their defenses. This is the western side of Karg Island, right? And you can see everything that's these little red shapes like this. These are anti-aircraft guns. Notice that the overwhelming number of anti-aircraft guns are in the northwest corner, because the northwest corner is how you would get there from
Iraq.
Right? So their air defenses had constantly been organized against their most proximate foe, and they have not changed this very much. You'd see these yellow symbols here are surface-to-air missile batteries. There are 3 surface-to-air missile batteries. There is a battery of IHawk missiles, right? Hawk missile is an American surface-to-air missile. Actually, I have an image of it if you want to take a look at it. A surface-to-air missile that the United States sold the Shah of Iran because we're good at that. Whoop, I'm sorry. There you go. This is a Hawk missile battery. They come on launchers in 3s. And now, an interesting little historical aside. Iran in 1979 had horrible missiles. Their missiles were over 10, 15 years old. The Shah of Iran damaged a lot of them. So Iran didn't have a good supply of Hawk missiles. And in fact, they had already been a new product improvement called the IHawk, right? Improved Hawk missile. Hawk stands for homing all the way killer. And what it is it has a air search radar, then it has a tracking radar, and then it has a designating radar. And that designating radar locks onto your airplane. The missile shoots, jumps onto the beam, and homes all the way until it kills you, right? That capability was, by the time of the Islamic Revolution was over, was old. But wait. They have IHawk missiles, Malcolm. How did they get improved Hawk missiles? Funny you should mention it. There was an American president named Ronald Reagan who was fighting a secret guerrilla war against communists in Nicaragua in the mid-1980s. Oh, man. I remember the very moment I heard this news, and the first words out of my mouth, I swear to God, were, if this is true, he's getting impeached. And he didn't get impeached. Ronald Reagan, in order to secretly fund the Contras of Nicaragua, the people who were supposed to overthrow the communist Nicaraguan government, he got all his funds cut off by Congress. So what did he do? He sent a guy on the National Security Council staff named Colonel Oliver North, now Fox News analyst, to negotiate with Iran, right? Because he needed big money, and they got big money, even though they're an Islamic fundamentalist terrorists who killed Americans by the hundreds. Ronald Reagan decided he could get something out of Iran. So, needless to say, Oliver North took a Bible signed by Ronald Reagan, met with the Iranians, and got a deal where the United States would give Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, I believe the number was like, somebody look it up. I'm going to screw it up. The number that comes into my mind is 190. Okay? But gave them a boatload of Israeli, right? Hawk missiles, IHawk missiles that we had given to Iran, and they, in exchange, we sold them to Iran, took the cash from that secret-ass sale, improving their air defense, and took that secret money and funded the Contra guerrillas. And, of course, Oliver North took a little bit off the top of that, too, right? So that's why he was convicted. And Ronald Reagan, of course, pardoned everybody. But these missiles you see, there are improved IHawks that may still survive, may have already been fired at our aircraft. Thank you, Ronald Reagan, right? Now, when I got there in the mid-1980s and this happened, I was like I said, I was like, that's impossible. That's bullshit. That's what? It's real. So there you go. We, in our infinite wisdom, decided that we would hit some of these targets. So the United States struck what they say are 90 targets. This is what drives me crazy about these briefers. They did not strike 90 targets. They struck 90 impact points, because one of those targets was at least 10 hits on the airstrip. That airstrip is not a military airstrip. We monitored in real time every aircraft going in and coming out of that airstrip, reporting in through Bouchier control and all of that stuff, right? Most of the time, if there was an airplane, it was like little Piper Cub that supported the principal agency on that island, the National Oil Company of Iran.
Mm.
And they have it's 99% of its use was a heliport for National Oil Company crews that were being flown in from Bouchier, which is down the road, about 30 miles down the road. I actually have some charts for you to see because I'm going to make you very smart about Kharg Island. Some other things Kharg Island has is, I don't know why it's all funny. There it is. It was the last slide. This is the Kharg Island Marina. And in the marina, there are IRGC small fast craft. There are always IRGC small fast craft because it's a naval base, right? And what you're seeing here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 small high-speed boats, 3 larger high-speed boats, and that looks like a high-speed rocket launcher. Not a missile launcher, a rocket launcher. And from the look of these little rails here, I don't know if you can see them, these might be those North Korean fast attack boats that they bought. But those are conventional targets, right? If the Iranians really had orders to fight, those boats would have dispersed out in there. Oh, here's a couple of more. These are high-speed, fast attack craft here. This is the IRGC Marina. This is IRGC Repair Yard, right? And these are the sort of things. Right here, this could be 25 targets, right, that you could hit. Because you would also hit the pier. You want the gangway to the pier. You want all the facility support buildings. You want these support buildings. You want to hit all the repair facts and the slipways that would allow them down there. You could easily find 90 targets on an island that really has nothing, right?
Yeah.
But so this is what some of the impacts look like. This was taken by an Iranian.
Ah.
Yeah, I think that. No. I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's Fujairah. We're going to get back to that. Okay, so back to the strikes themselves. I'm not going to play any of the airstrike video. If you want to see that, that's fun. You can watch that. It really has no value other than knowing that the United States drops bombs and we're good at dropping bombs. So over here there's the IHawk site, an S-200. An S-200, I swear to God, this missile caused me so much trouble in the 1980s. But by the 1990s, it was beyond obsolete, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is SA-5 Gammon, right? A surface-to-air missile system. You had a better chance of hitting an airplane if you threw a rock than if you threw an S-200 but it had very long range, and the missiles are like twice the size of an IHawk, right? So it's like throwing a yellow school bus up in the air, and you can dodge it. Okay, it's ridiculous. It's ancient technology, and up here there was supposed to be a Tor mobile guided missile truck that's up here. But this island's so small, the approaches are so wide, we don't even have to launch anywhere near the air defense zone of this. You could launch way out, 50 miles, 100 miles. You could be in Kuwait City, and that's another question. Did they use the HIMARS multiple rocket launch system to just lob a rocket over here and boom, hit that and hit the sites, and then cruise missiles come in or drones? Some of those impacts look pretty small, but this island is an oil field, right? And if you don't hit those precision targets, you're hitting oil facilities, and you are risking an economic crisis. So what do you think, Jake?
Yeah, exactly, and that's why the impact here. And what's interesting about this is not, as you were saying, how many bombs have been dropped and so on and so on. it's what's Trump's next move going to be, because he's threatening, obviously, to take out the oil infrastructure, which would be serious for the Iranians, no doubt about that. But again, he would be shooting himself in the foot, because that would cause even more panic on the global energy market, and the Iranians know that. So, and I mean, they're in survival mode. So they're going to say, "Oh shit, we're losing that revenue." But again, they know for this war to succeed, they need to keep putting pressure on Trump through the global energy market, and that's their strategy. And Trump just can't read what his opponents are doing, and that's why I'm saying he's just digging his hole ever deeper.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Let me, you know what? And another fascinating component of this is they announced this strike after the markets closed on Friday.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I didn't want to do the whole Karg Island special. We're going to get through the war first.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about Karg Island in detail here at the tail end, because I have a lot of data for you. I want to show you, because for me, spending 10 years zooming back and forth Karg Island and looking at my watch and watching airplanes bomb it, that was just like Tuesday, right? I mean, that's just something that happened every day.
Yeah.
And now, 40 years later, 30 years later, and this happened a lot. Karg Island didn't get rebuilt until 2008. It's relatively new, and it didn't get to full capacity till 2019, if I'm not mistaken, the oil terminals, right?
Yeah.
So, but there are some other things we need to talk about. Yes.
Also, one thing on this point for our viewers to understand is the fact that most of this oil goes to China.
Yep.
But if Trump bombs it and it comes off the market, it will put pressure on the global market, because the Chinese are going to enter the global market, and that shortage of supplies for China will just mean prices will increase radically.
Well, also
Again,
the global oil, it, even though it goes to China, it can't be really sliced up. It's a big
yeah,
black
yeah,
circle of crude,
exactly,
and it's
exactly,
about the volume that's in it,
yeah,
right? But in this case, I said this morning, and they laughed on CNN. I said, Iran is now issuing oil easy passes,
yeah,
and you
exactly,
there's an easy pass. If you got an easy pass
yeah,
in your tanker's window, you're
yeah,
going to get through. The IRGC is like green light, and the barrier comes up. So, my other significant activity, of course, the U.S. Air Force is still bombing all over Iran. What they're trying to do is they're trying to bomb the Artesh, which is the Iranian army, out of existence by doing what we do best. And when Trump said they're going to run out of targets, they mean that, right? But again, if you're bombing the Iranian army, the men aren't gone. No one's in their barracks. At the first shot, everyone goes to their mom's house. That's not a joke. That's not a joke, because their mom's house is like a barracks, right? Laundry gets done for you. You get all your meals, and, and it's safe. So,
yeah.
and better yet, you don't have to wear your uniform. So, it's not a joke. So
And
the
that's also
army
why
exists.
these 6 to 7,000 killed Iranians is wrong.
Yeah, it's unrealistic.
Yeah,
Yeah, granted, you kill some guys if you have video of a
yeah,
rocket launcher, it's probably 3 guys. If
yeah,
you actually have 20 within the same blast radius, but you're not going past the numbers that we have right now. Those aren't civilians, perhaps, that are being killed. We'll have to see. Okay, the only other significant activity I had under U.S. attacks was Trump making a definitive statement that the United States will escort tankers. Good luck with that, Slick. Okay, during
yeah.
Operation during Operation Earnest Will, in which we, as a favor to Kuwait, okay, in order to get their illicit oil that they were drilling and stealing from the Iraqi oil field to the north of Kuwait, the Iraqis were mad, so they were coming down and attacking them. The Iranians were mad because that oil was paying for Iraq to make a boatload of money to attack Kharg Island. So the Iranians are like, that oil's not coming down the Gulf, and we're going to attack it everywhere we see it. So the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush, decided that his buddies in the Bilderberg Group, or whatever international oligarchy group it is, will reflag these, I believe it was 5 Kuwaiti very large crude carriers, rename them and flag them flying the American flag. There's a reason tankers don't fly the American flag. 1, your insurance is about $1 billion higher. 2, it gets taxed. 3, it really has no benefit. 4, there are countries like Palau and the Marshall Islands that for a very small fee, or for a long time it was Liberia. Okay, whoop. My alert dog is talking about another strike. No. Yes. He just woke up from a bad dream that we were landing troops on Kharg Island. That's what made him yelp. So, so we took these 5 tankers and flagged them and then escorted them with 2 warships per escort. Okay? Now, the Arabian Gulf was being mined. The Iranians did lay mines. As you know, I went into a minefield that critically damaged a U.S. frigate, the USS Samuel B. Roberts. But here's the kicker. When we started this escort thing going through the SOH, we were not at war with Iran. Iran was doing irregular warfare, asymmetric warfare. They were just harassing us. They'd come out in small boats and run circles around us and try to get us to shoot at them, right? But we would come out with a mine-sweeping helicopter in front of the squadron. A frigate would lead it. Then would come 2 tankers that were empty. When we're coming in, they're empty. When they're going out, they're full. Here's the kicker. That configuration could not exist all the time. We just didn't have the number of warships. That would have required 8 to 10 warships full-time escorting these tankers. And then when the first ship hit a mine, the Bridgeton, which was a very large crude carrier, it was behind a frigate. And it was also behind minesweepers. And it was so fat, it hit a mine. All right? Then we realized it didn't damage it very badly. Then we realized this is dangerous. So we changed the configuration to where a frigate would go way out ahead, and then the tankers would go out ahead of the frigate to sweep the mines with their hulls, right? To take the mines, because these crude carriers could take a hit. It would damage them. It was madness. They went down. I think they were only doing something like 6 or 7 shuttles per week. I mean, per day. No, per week. And I'm going to show you why. All right. I have a map here on our system.
Hang on, Malcolm. I'll be back. Just keep it going.
Yeah, sure.
I'll be back in a second.
Okay. Guys who are listening, okay. This is where Kharg Island is, right? Way up there in the northern part of the Persian Gulf. I hope you guys can see. Somebody said they wanted me to lift my camera. But you got to start here in the northern Indian Ocean, right? The Gulf of Oman right here. And you got to enter these 4 points is the Strait of Hormuz. These 4. You cannot move out of the traffic separation scheme if you're within those 4 points. You got to maintain course, speed, heading. You could have collisions with other ships. but that's where the small boats and stuff will get you. Every ship has to maintain these courses. Every ship. And it's only here past Bahrain that if you go to the right, you're going to Karg Island. If you go to the left, you're going to Kuwait or Jubail or Dammam or Ras Tanura, all of these, oil field terminals in Saudi Arabia. But the Gulf traffic scheme was solid. This, if you're coming from Karg Island, you're bringing Chinese paid oil down, this is the way you got to go. If you're an empty ship, you got to come in this way. And again, there is a divert down here to Ras Laffan and down here to Ruwais. These are all oil and natural gas fields. And you go up here to Bahrain, boop, off to Sitra Anchorage, and you go all the way up there. You can go to Kuwait City. Okay? This is how oil flows in this world. But this is 25 miles right there. 25 miles. You can see across it if you're in Musandam Peninsula. So I don't know why Trump thought that bombing the military facilities there was going to be anything. It was a warning for Iran, but Iran is not worried about, the guard dog.
No?
It's worried about this, right? The big giant thermos full of, rocket fuel that the world is running on. And so by Trump saying we hit the island, it's what we would call a demonstration attack. It just demonstrated that we could do it.
And guess who don't care about that at all?
Yeah.
The Iranian leadership.
Iranians. Now.
They're probably even going to harden their stance, if that's even possible.
Now, I'm afraid to say, this is interesting. They cratered the runway, which tells me they don't want fixed-wing aircraft taking off and on it. If the United States' plan was to seize that island, you might want to have kept that runway, okay? So now the only way to that island is helicopter assault or airborne assault, right? Parachuting down on it. Now, you blew up the barracks, you blew up the DFAC, the dining hall. I've seen pictures of that town. There's cafes, bars, and restaurants. There's cafes and restaurants. There are no bars, right? There are cafes and restaurants all over the place there. They live by that. Small boats come across all the time. And to give you an idea of how close it is to the shore, that's what my other image was. This is the view from the island to the Iranian mainland. It's 18 miles. You can be over in a boat in 30 minutes. High-speed boat, you can be over in 30 minutes. And that is not barren. There are villages and towns all over that place. Food, water, logistics, everything can be brought down to a boat and brought over. It's like being, for those of you who've seen the movie Mamma Mia, okay, those little Greek boats that bring passengers and food and shrimp and everything over to the cafe, that's how it's done on all coastal societies. So you just can't say, "Ooh, we blew up the IRGC." Well, the IRGC reinforcements can come over on the shrimp boat that's bringing, the caviar from the Tabriz, from the Black Sea. The Caspian Sea. You just don't know. And if you're not counting every person there, you can't bomb the 8,000 civilians that are in town. There was an Iranian television interview with people on there, and they were like, yeah, bombs were blowing up, but it wasn't impacting us. They weren't hitting the terminal. And, okay. People were not really upset about it.
But remember, it was obliterated.
Did you hear? What's the quote? What's the quote? The greatest bombardment in the history of the Middle East is what Trump called this. Bro, I'm pretty sure you did not do the greatest bombardment in the history of the Middle East. Desert Storm would like to have a word with you. Okay,
but
let me give you some.
Also, the city of Bushehr, that's close, Malcolm.
Very close.
And that's a city, and I suspect that has been bombed quite a bit. also the military installations in
Oh
in
yeah.
Bushehr. But it's all the regular stuff that we've talked about, and this is not really what the Iranians have designed to defend against the U.S. It's
No.
not the regular stuff. They know that is a losing proposition anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to show you some distances. It's on my Google Earth here, I think. I want to show you some distances because I think it's really important for people to feel, to get a good understanding just how close these things are. Here we are, Google Earth. If Google Earth wants to cooperate with me, it's always something. But I'll just tell you the distances here.
There it is.
There it is. The distance between Kaarsbo Island and the mainland. Here, I'll just go up here and zoom in, give you a God's eye view. This is Kaarsbo Island. That little spit up there is Kaarsbo Island. Kaarsbo Island is a wetland and a World Heritage bird watching site. There's nothing on it. It's not. It's solid-ish. Over here, where you see my cursor pointing down here, this is the city of Bushehr. This is where the Iranians have a nuclear power plant built by the Shah of Iran, upgraded by Russia, right? And it's over here, but it's an experimental power plant. And then you can see Bushehr Airfield is there. That's where fighter jets come. That's where civilian airliners take off from. But that airport's probably been damaged so that it's out of commission. But it doesn't stop food trucks, doesn't stop guys from bringing the fish back up to the markets all throughout Iran. Commerce continues in war, okay? Which is how we got our spies into France in World War II on bicycles. Commerce continues. People buy things. People exchange things. Businesses fully operate. So this is Kaarsbo Island here. The distance up here, there's Ramla, Jazira al-Janubi, right? Which I find is a great name. The Island of the Soldiers. It's not. It's from ancient times. But the distance from Kaarsbo Island to the mainland right here, right there, that's 18 miles. That view I showed you of water but high mountains off in the distance, this is the high mountains, the Alborz mountain range. No, this is the Zagros mountain range, the upper central portion of the coastal Zagros mountain range. For you to see 18 miles and to have 5 inches of mountain in your horizon, you're looking at 1,000 to 2,000 feet of elevation out there. These are not small islands in these. You can see these areas down here. They're in the lower lands as they follow these estuaries. But going up here, it's mountainous terrain, and it looks down on that island. Okay? So you could station artillery up there. You could have rockets down here in the fishing villages. You could have rockets on small boats. You could just do what I would do. I would get styrofoam fake mines, and I would come out here in fishing boats, and I would drop them into the ocean, 3 fake styrofoam mines for every 1 real mine. Right? And I would let it go out into the channel and let everybody know that we're mining our ass off up there.
Yeah.
Maybe they're already there. Maybe they're not. Not those big floating ones, the triangular bottom ones that you can't detect until you A, hit them, B, get a mine-sweeping device over it that detects its magnetic anomaly signature, and then send down a remote bot that's going to put an explosive on it, or a what we would call a magnetic initiator. That's a piece of technology that emits a magnetic field of a ship, and then let it blow up. What is this? Somebody says my TV show. You're turning nothing into a reality TV show. Okay, well, welcome to reality. So that was an interesting comment. Yeah, I don't think this is a reality TV show. I think this is life. And you're getting the exact kind of intelligence brief that you would get anywhere else.
The
So
opposite of a video game war.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not a video game war. All right. Other than that, that's it for Kaarsbo Island. By the way, it is 100 nautical miles east of Kuwait. It's 18 nautical miles from the coast, 30 nautical miles from Bushehr. Like I said, it was built by Shell Oil Company, and it does have those defense positions on it. Here's what else is going on in economic warfare. Then I'm going to go to some of your questions. The
We have one
Iranians.
important topic I have, but just go over your list, Malcolm.
Okay.
Then there's one.
This morning, the Iranians launched Shahed drones against the Fujairah port bunkering depot. That is where oil is stored before it's pumped out to the ships. It apparently was done in response to Karg Island. And here's a picture of it. This is the photo of those bunkers on fire. There's a video of it burning last night, so they fire them at nighttime so that the Shaheeds can't be seen. But this is where the oil goes from the Habshan to Fujairah pipeline that was supposed to cut the transit for the Strait of Hormuz. Well, the Iranians are like, hey, yeah, go ahead, use the Habshan Fujairah oil pipeline, but you're not going to get it on ships. We're going to blow up all your storage tankers. But we're not going to blow them all up. We're blowing enough up so that you get the message. The Americans just hit Karg Island. We hit you. They hit Karg Island. We hit you. This is, I no longer say the Iranians are fighting a military war. The Iranians are fighting an economic war. And we are the principal targets, the people on this planet.
Yeah.
So the Iranian news put out a statement from the Iranian government after Karg Island was hit, and they said if they keep getting hit, these targets will be struck in Saudi Arabia, the two largest fields on the east, Ras Tanura and Ras Jumeimah. In the United Arab Emirates, they said specifically Fujairah and Jebel Ali oil terminals. Now, Jebel Ali is the huge facility south of Dubai that also, this is also a, how can I put it, sort of a luxury tax, because south of Jebel Ali, those oil terminals there also fuel the 10 or 15 gas-fired and oil-fired power plants that bring electricity to Dubai. And when I was a young sailor, there was only one smokestack there. When I moved there into Abu Dhabi, there were 10. When I left, there were 15. There is an enormous amount of energy that Dubai needs that's being produced on that coast. And if they hit that in Jebel Ali, things are going to get very bad very quickly because power can't be rerouted like that quickly. They threatened in Qatar. Yes, sir.
And remember the Iranian goal. The Iranian goal is to make us suffer and to keep putting pressure on little by little, and also get these countries to put pressure on the US. And the Iranian ultimate motive is to get the US military out of these countries.
Yep.
So that's what they'll keep aiming for.
It's good pressure. And this is why I'm saying when I do these attack matrices that I have on my page, I am no longer putting Iran under military operations. They're not carrying out military operations. They're carrying out an asymmetric economic warfare operation. Everything they have done thus far since we hit that girls' school in stop firing ballistic missiles has been designed to hurt the global economy and place the burden of pressure on the world to stop Trump. That's it. That's the game.
That's it.
Right there. And your gas, if, these guys, you want reality TV, check the price at the pump today. It's going to really go up. Even though there's enough oil in the system, oil companies are price gouging right now. They're going up 25 to 50 cents a day. So the economic warfare is working. They also just said that they would strike Qatar, the Ras Laffan natural gas field. Now, this is interesting. About 10 days ago, Qatar saw what a disaster it would be if those fields were hit by a drone. They shut all the gas pumps off. So you could hit the storage tanks have been emptied because as I said before, natural gas blows up like an atomic bomb. Okay, you do not want a liquid natural gas carrier in Ras Laffan exploding, or the bunkering, the storage tanks. So, but they threatened it publicly yesterday. They're going to go after Ras Laffan, and if they won't destroy the actual gas that's been collected, they will destroy the infrastructure. Kuwait, they said they will attack Mina Ahmadi. This is a place that I spent a lot of time in. That is their main transshipment point south of Kuwait City, north of, right next to Port Shuaibah, right, where the United States got hit. And Bahrain, they would destroy the Sitra oil terminal. I'm sorry, but they've done a good job of hitting Sitra already. It's already been hit 3 or 4 times with drones, and we've seen it on fire. But they haven't destroyed all of it. Now it would be a punishment attack where they would just start blowing up the pipes, right? That's real warfare. Okay,
and then they'll say to their Arab neighbors, the Gulf Arab neighbors, they'll say, "Sorry, but these are actually American targets because you host them."
Yeah, you can stop this. It's like that. You can stop punching yourself. Okay. So a couple of times, I'm going to go to questions here, but here's our last significant
really
activity
important one, Malcolm, is the plan to send Marines, the USS Tripoli.
I am just about to talk about that. Got questions about that. But we learned something that on March 1st, the UK MTO, the United Kingdom Maritime Transportation Office, or Trade Office, UKTO, I think it's Trade Office, announced that they have confirmed that on March 1st, one of the first ships that was struck in the Gulf was struck by a remote controlled dhow, right? They called it a skiff. And the kind that I think it is it could sit about 8 to 10 people. But one of these vessels said a wood dhow came alongside, had no crew, and then blew up. And it took 9 days, but they've confirmed that ship was struck by a remote control, regular old wood boat, which means the Iranians don't have to use those slick suicide vessels, high-speed boats. They are now using GPS, remote control, maybe even 5G from United Arab Emirates and Oman to guide boats to their targets.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same, in terrorism. If you want to get a car bomb through to a checkpoint, you don't approach in a military vehicle or something that looks suspicious. You're going to bring out your white Toyota and then hide your bomb
way
in
down
there.
At the end.
And the Dow is the Gulf's version of a white Toyota.
Now, we haven't received.
It could be anything.
We haven't received a full-scale fatwa for holy war jihad, kill everybody from Mujtaba al-Khamenei. But if he decides he's going to ratchet this up, you're going to start seeing suicide vessels where it will have a guy on it. Apparently, about 3-4 days ago, a small boat approached the USS Abraham Lincoln, and it didn't respond to orders, and the U.S. Navy sank it. First, they tried to shoot a ship's 5-inch gun, missed it, and then a Seahawk helicopter put a Hellfire missile into it. It's quite possible that was a suicide bomb boat. So that being said, I've got some questions about the Marine Amphibious Readiness Group, okay? I think I mentioned this yesterday, that if this were a real war that had been properly planned and thought about in advance, and a guy like me, salty-ass old guy who had been there, done that for over 40 years, had been in the room, I would have said, hey, listen, if you guys are talking about, doing, interdiction against things that are on land, you might want to have a raiding capacity there, right? That's where you launch 30 guys, 50 guys in helicopters, Marine Force reconnaissance, Marine infantry raiding parties, and you interdict roads, take over radar sites, get clear observation of the Strait of Hormuz temporarily, right? Very small. Or if you want to take an island for a short period of time, you do like the Battle of Wake Island, right? You get on a submarine and you surface and you 40 guys in rubber boats. You go out and you kill everybody. You knock down the radar. You come back. You might want to bring the Marines with you. Marines come in these things called amphibious readiness groups, but their actual name is Marine Expeditionary Units, MEU. Right now, there are 2 Marine Expeditionary Units afloat. One is permanently stationed in Okinawa, Sasebo, Japan, and it was 4 days ago in the Philippines doing amphibious readiness stuff in preparation for defending Asia against China. The other one has been sitting in the Caribbean off Puerto Rico since August of last year. Why? It was supporting operations off of Venezuela, and now it's in preparation for supporting operations off Cuba. Not joking. So they wanted those 2,500 Marines in the Caribbean MEU, and the 2,500 Marines in the Asia MEU were nowhere near this war. Now, every operation that I've been involved in or seen or read about since 1979, when we did Operation Eagle Claw to try to rescue the hostages, we bought a Marine Expeditionary Unit near to the Persian Gulf or into the Persian Gulf because they have helicopter and amphibious boat capability. And MARGs, they used to be called MARGs, Marine Amphibious Readiness Groups, MEUs are always there. Always. And this is the first time I have never seen us do an operation where somebody said, let's just bring the MEU over, sit it off of Salalah, Oman, or sit it off of, Ras Al Khaimah, or not Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah, steam some circles just in case we need them. So in Desert Storm for Operation Desert Shield, we actually had those Marines steaming circles out there, the amphibious landing force. They didn't come up until it was time to raid the ground, but they were nearby. They were within 16 hours of sailing, which is half a day, right? That's a day to get all the way up the Arabian Gulf, Persian Gulf. So they are on their way. They ordered one Marine Expeditionary Unit from Asia.
And so that's the one from Philippines.
It was in the Philippines. Now it's in Sasebo, Japan. You know why they went back to Japan, right? You got to get your desert camouflage uniforms on now.
Yes.
Because they were just in woodland camouflage in the Philippines preparing for war in Asian islands. Iran, Shias are brown. And they also need to get all their desert equipment, live ammunition brought on board, more helicopter support. Everybody who was taking leave, your leaves are canceled. No one's climbing Mount Fuji this weekend. You are all going on, as we call it, you're going on a float. And they are now floating their way towards the Arabian Peninsula. It will take them if they are max speed, no holds barred, they could do it in 8 days. That's hauling ass, and that would require an enormous number of tankers to come out and refuel them. Their normal speed is going to be about 20 knots, so it's going to take them 12 to 14 days to get to the Eastern Strait of Hormuz. And now the Iranians know this. Now, we should have known that in the first place. We should have already been there.
They're not going to close the Strait of Hormuz. No, they won't.
The problem is they are planning, if they're planning on entering the Strait of Hormuz, the Iranians are going to fight you with something. They're not going to let you come through the traffic separation scheme, locked in, trying to avoid going into rocky waters or trying to go into shallow waters, trying not to run aground off of Iran. Just think about that, right? Stuck on a sandbar in Iranian waters, kids with slingshots will be coming to the top of the mountain to throw things down at you.
Yeah.
So, this is going to be very interesting. I don't know what their intentions are. If it's the land, as we discussed yesterday on the Iranian islands, it will get very spicy very fast. It's an escalation that will
Yeah.
set fire to the Gulf. The Iranians will have to fight. Missiles
Yeah.
will have to come out of the warehouses. Suicide boats will have to
Yeah.
be deployed. And
Yeah.
things are going to get very hot very fast. And you
Yeah.
will see oil, you will see your gasoline, which is now $3.50 average in the United States, go up to $6. You'll be like
Yeah.
Europe, $6 per gallon. Okay, reports yesterday that Navy ships stationed there are having to share rations. Any word if that's true? We do that all the time. If you're on station, we transfer food from an aircraft carrier to a destroyer, from a destroyer to a frigate, and then the fleet transports come up with a conga line of secure food, ammunition, that's probably being flown into Israel now, to Haifa, and then you come all the way down through the Red Sea or Djibouti. You can come to Djibouti, and a fast fleet resupply ship will come up and resupply the carrier, and the carrier becomes the lily pad for giving food. But they're not starving. I'm sorry. We do, on occasion, get steak and lobster. But when you've been on a ship for 40 days and you've not seen land, and you're down to what we call sliders, which is 2 hamburgers and French fries, it's nice to have good fresh food brought in.
Yeah.
All right, another question. Oh, by the way, that question was from Karen, and the first question was from Christopher Grassi. Urban Hermits wanted to talk about the ARC deployment too. Kelly Horton says, why are there 2,500 Marines on a carrier over there? Because it's a helicopter carrier. We actually use this phrase. I actually had some loser yesterday on the Twitter go, real sailors don't ever use the phrase helicopter carrier. I don't believe you're real. Bro, it's an aircraft carrier that has helicopters. Yes, they do have 6 to 10 jets now that can take off vertically. But, okay, landing helicopter assault ship, LHA. There you go. How about that? So, oh man, the Call of Duty world of warships guys are really out there. Somebody said, King Ray West said, I heard the numbers at 5,000. The total number of sailors and Marines that are moving those ships plus the amphibious expeditionary unit is 5,000 total in that 3-ship task force. 2 LPDs, landing ship docks, LSDs, LPDs, and 1 LHA or an LHD, as it used to be called. And they are manned by about, depends on the ship, 5 to 600 sailors per ship, plus auxiliary support personnel. So about 5,000. But the actual guys that are going on the ground is 2,500. Now, here's the problem. If they were serious about this, they would have had the other ARG of MEU come from Caribbean, and both of them meet together and create a 6-ship task force, plus to bring the expeditionary sea base that's for special operations that is sitting in Gaeta, Italy right now, or Naples. It hasn't moved. That is a special supply landing support ship for helicopters strictly for U.S. Special Operations Command. It hasn't moved. I'm not sure people are being very serious about this because Jacob and I, this war would be intense but short, depending on the operations. If you say land on Clark Island, first question I'm going to say is what, you and what army?
Yeah.
If you're talking about parachuting troops on top of guys who have AK-47s, I want you to go watch the movie The Longest Day, right? And there's a scene where the 82nd Airborne goes off target and they jump onto the village of San Mary-Glise, right? And I've been to San Mary-Glise. I love that town. and they're jumping into a Nazi fortified town. And the Nazis are shooting them as they're coming down right on top of them. Let's think twice about this. Also, if you overshoot and you hit a thermal, your parachute could take you all the way out into the Arabian Gulf or over into the waters where you will drown, right? Which means you now have to do a combat jump at freaking, like 1,000 feet, which means you're going to injure a third of your force just landing. Oh my God, I'm not quite sure they thought of this.
And what we can say with certainty, Malcolm, is that, okay, they moved these 2,500 Marines to be able to potentially do something, but it'll be very complex, it'll be very risky, and they're going to lose considerable numbers of soldiers that way.
Yeah. Considerable. And that's killed, wounded, and lost, right? Missing in action. Victoria Zelensky, who has a very cool name. I think we've explained the tactical considerations to you. And if you want, you can go to my Substack written articles. There's an article I wrote last Monday, all right, called 3 More Scenarios for Boots on the Ground. 3 More Scenarios for an Arabian Nightmare. I spell out the 3 major military operations you could do. Seizing the nuclear facility at what's called Pickaxe Mountain, or landing on the islands off of the Strait of Hormuz and trying to take them, or doing an amphibious or airborne landing on Kark Island. You can get great detail out of that. We've gone over. Let me answer the last of these questions, and then we'll all have a nice day. Are they able to spoof the radar and GPS for the airspace? We are, but the Iranians are doing that right now. We talked about that last week. They have this thing called the Tarada 2 Electronic Warfare Suite. It's Russian built. It was an operation off of Larak Island a few days ago. Might have been destroyed already. It was doing GPS spoofing and making all these merchant ships come together into one giant group. And if done in a combat operation where they say, hey, listen, we're done with this, we're going to start burning some ships, they could bring another unit down, spoof the GPS. Once 10 or 20 ships go to that GPS spot, because they use automated steering off of GPS, and then suddenly 100 anti-ship missiles start burning in and start blasting tankers. This is real. It's a capability that our problem is that we just seem to have not planned on or ignored. Do you think they'll try to land on Kark Island? I don't know. I can't tell you. And if they do, a lot of implications. Yeah, can they take it? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. The U.S. military can take anything we're tasked to take. Can we take it at an acceptable cost? It's possible. We could do it with special operations forces, right? Fly in on helicopter, land 50 Rangers, 100 Rangers, fly in 20. It's a waste of their capability to go policing through a town to kill all these guys who were on an anti-aircraft gun, and then suddenly suicide drones start hitting everywhere you are, right? They start bombarding the town from the mountains.
And again, if they do it, then what? I mean, that's not going to change the Iranian calculus. That's not going to make them open up the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes, it's not going to help. What it will do is it will burn that island to the ground. The Iranians know they can repair it, right? They can get oil out other ways, but if it's a lesson that has to be learned for the Americans, I think they'll teach that lesson. If they've decided they're not fighting, who knows? Maybe they let us keep it for a week, all right, and get very comfortable there, and go to the gift shop. Joe Godin said that we have 370 KC-135s. They should reposition, so we have more than enough airlift capability for refueling. Norma Hunt says, Professor Terry Goggin did an extensive article on Kark Island. If it is attacked, U.S. claims they leveled it by cutting off Iran's oil lifeboat. Can you clarify? Nope, that hasn't happened. Oil wasn't touched at all, right? And he won't, because we are not going to $6 a gallon oil, right? Which is cheap for you guys. That's $2 a liter. That's pretty cheap for Europe. Christopher Grasky says, are there actual sea mines that do not have any discernible magnetic signature that can be detected yet? Right. We talked about this yesterday. I'll do this briefly. There are sea mines that are designed to look like the bottom of the ocean. Right? This is the wrong one. This is the one. I'm going to show you some of the sea mines that we have. These are the ones that everybody thinks about, the contact mines, horned contact mines. This one right here was an artillery-fired mine. Looks like a spike, falls to the bottom of the ocean and waits, right? If it's there a long time, it can get barnacles on it, right? It could be there for a month, and you might not be able to detect it. Some of these have plastic casings. You see, that's the rocket launcher. This is a limpet mine. Yes. Once this goes down there, I have seen Turkish versions where they pre-placed plastic barnacles all over the mine and painted it the color of mud, and it's in a high-pressure plastic casing. Now tell me 5,000 anchors have been dropped and lost in the Persian Gulf across its history, right? You might find Jason and the goddamn Argonauts anchor that was lost while they were chasing the Gorgon, right? But yes, this capability is there. I'm going to show you some more. These off to the side are that bottom mine. You notice they don't look like regular mines. They lay on the bottom of the ocean and they can silt over. When they hit the bottom, they kick up a lot of dirt. You would have to visually see this, or these are magnetic iron, right? Or you would have to bring a magnetic signature close to detonate it. Or if it had a high pressure plastic case, it won't be detectable. No. Well, there you go. All right, just a couple of last questions and we're done. Can we transfer some oil by land? Yes, we said that before. Saudi Arabia has an oil pipeline that moves 7 million barrels a day. The problem is they need 15 to 20 million barrel capacity. But the Saudis are cutting their oil now. They're lowering their oil amounts. But. Okay, I think that looks like that's all the big questions. Aren't we going to discuss so many people asked about the Marine deployment. We sort of did a big one. I think as the Marines start moving there and they clarify what they're going to do, we will do a special, once again, amphibious landing, airborne assault Substack for paid subscribers only, because I can't keep explaining the same thing over and over again. If you're really interested, pretty sure you could pony up the cost of a Starbucks coffee, right? So, because this is life or death, as we're doing. Yeah. All right, exactly. Jacob, any last comments so we can all have a nice Saturday off?
The conclusion I put on Danish TV today was that during war, when you misread your opponent, it often has disastrous outcomes. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing for me to indicate that Donald Trump understands how to read his opponent. Mm-hmm. Yep. So by the day, he's digging his own hole deeper, and the disasters are becoming greater, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Okay, a little administration. Before you go, you'll see that little rondelle that says Black Man Spy right up there on the screen. Touch that. A box will pop up. And if you haven't subscribed to Jacob Kaarsbo, subscribe to Jacob. He has his own Substacks. He has his own reports that he does. They are very informative. I'm reading.
And I've surpassed 7,000 now, which is a lot in Denmark. But most of them are Americans and Canadians and all you good people around the world, because Substack isn't a big thing in Denmark, but we're fighting.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for coming to today's briefing. We'll be back here tomorrow at this exact same time with our reality show. The problem is we're having too much fun on such a serious situation. Yeah. But if we didn't laugh at it in some circumstances like this one. Okay, before we go, I have one.
I think people need to understand that even when you do shitty, dangerous things in war, you need to have fun at the same time. And that's why to stay sane. And that's why we can also, joke about these really, really serious and disastrous things that we're seeing. Because when you're in it, you need to perform and you need to get your brain positive things into your brain at the same time.
Which is why I always try to end on a light note. This is a headline from The Onion, the satirical newspaper, that says, Trump to Americans, you won't have to pay your son's cell phone bill when he dies at war. Sounds horrible black humor, but this is where America is being sarcastic now, because we may be sending more people to their deaths, whether it's by accident, where we have people have heart attack at sea, fall over the side of a ship, get hit by a crane, run over by a fuel truck, or whether it's deliberate through combat action. So, okay, that's it. Go have a nice weekend. Do not watch the news for the rest of the day. We'll tell you tomorrow what happened. Don't stress yourself. All right? Take care. See you tomorrow.
See you.